Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Aiscend AI Podcast, where real estate meets innovation. I'm your host, Hannah Taylor, realtor, investor, and AI strategist, helping brokerages bridge the gap between technology and true human connection. Today, I'm joined by Dan Vick, a true veteran in the real estate industry with an incredible 48 years of experience. Dan leads the largest RE/MAX operation in Kansas City, overseeing 3 offices and 165 agents, and he still sells actively as part of his family team alongside his daughter. Dan has also trained agents from across the country from RE/MAX regions, bringing a wealth of perspective on what's changed and what hasn't in nearly 5 decades of real estate. Today, we're going to dive into how he's seeing the market evolve, how he's introducing AI tools into his brokerage, and what it really takes to balance legacy and innovation in 2025. Dan, thank you so much for joining me. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Well, thanks for having me today. I probably need to update some information because this is actually, I'm almost at 48 years in the business right now.
That's so
Uh,
impressive.
Needless to say, there's been a ton of changes in the industry during the time I've been in it. And not to bore some of your younger people, but just to give them an idea of when I came into the business. All the MLS stuff was done on catalogs. You got a catalog every 2 weeks. It had one black and white photo that somebody had taken. You had to use Polaroid cameras, by the way, and you had one black and white photo of the house. And early on, I didn't feel like that was sufficient for our business. And I had got exposed to some of the systems where there was a mainline computer somewhere and you could hook in with a phone line to get on the terminal and get the latest listings quicker than they came out in the book. And so our board was very reluctant to get away from the catalog. And so actually, I spearheaded a group here in Kansas City, and we split off a ton of the brokerages and formed what was called the computer listing service. And so, within a couple of years, the other parts of the city that didn't have our system were very jealous and they wanted to get on when they saw what we were doing with it. So, I've always been kind of out on the front end. I tell people I don't want to be on the bleeding edge of technology, but I want to be an early adapter of technology. So there's people that there's tech heads and things that can learn things quicker than I can, but I want to get affiliated with those people to learn from their mistakes and adopt things fairly early. We go back to, even, the first time I was at a meeting and they started talking about websites and .coms and everything, I was kind of like set back and go like, most of my clients didn't even have computers at that point. But within about a year, I would say I really bought into that really hard. And for instance, for 15 years, my personal website, I made over 150 grand a year off of my website when nobody else was doing it. When I look at the years like 2007, 8, 9, when we had a huge recession in this country, my website saved our business, in my opinion, because of what I was able to get my agents to do on their websites, that kind of thing. And as you said, I've been with RE/MAX 42 years and have owned offices. And right now I'm a manager of a company. We have 3 offices here in Kansas City and about 170 to 80 agents. I've always felt like because I still sell and I have my own team, I am as up to date on the processes. I think a lot of brokers in this business get stuck behind a door and they're not out in the field seeing the problems that arise with the agents every single day. I don't care whether it's sewer line inspections or radon or whatever issue they're dealing with, because my team still sells. I know the problems they're getting into. If we're having issues with dot loop, if we're having issues with websites, whatever, because I use those tools daily, I'm able to stay in touch with what's going on. And usually I'm going to know about the problem before my agents even do because I use the technology that much and I come to work every day. I've always felt like I stay kind of ahead of the ball game there. And if we go back, I mean, from the introduction of technology to getting on computer terminals, and then I heard one of the big podcasters last week. He says, we just survived the worst year ever in real estate. He has no idea what the worst year in real estate was. He wasn't around when we had 18.5% fixed rate mortgages. And we
Mhm.
didn't have the financial tools like we have today. Used to the government set the usury rate for loans, and so I can remember closing FHA and VA loans that took 17 discount points to close.
Oh my goodness.
And then let's just look at 2008. I literally had multiple clients that had to bring over sellers had to
Mhm.
bring over 100 grand to the closing table to give their house to a buyer. And
Yeah.
so um, I've been resilient to say the least, because every time we go through a major transformation in this marketplace, I don't care whether it was back when we started buyer agency, when we had high interest rates. Most recently, most of the people that are listening today will probably recall all the issues last August in 2024, where we had to change how we did our business to stay uh, consistent with the real estate board rules that we were then playing under. And every time we go through a big transition in this business, we have a lot of people get out of the business. It's the
Mhm.
straw that finally broke the camel's back, and they go like, "Yeah, I'm not going to do this." I saw it when electronic signatures started. Some of my older agents were just like, I don't want to learn the technology,
Mhm.
and they get out of the business. So the people that survive are the ones that adapt.
Mhm.
You have to adapt every single day in this business. The day I come to work and don't learn something is the day I'm probably going to retire, because every day you learn something new. I mean, I just learned something new yesterday from one of the companies that does maintenance and work on houses that in 48 years I had never heard this. And I validated it with another contractor, and what he was saying was accurate. So you're always learning things. And if you want to survive in this business and make it a true profession, a vocation, you have to be adaptable.
Mhm.
Does
I
that
love
make
that.
sense? Does
Yeah.
that make sense to
That's
you?
perfect. Yeah, it sounds like you've always been on the forefront of what's going on and what's evolving in the real estate industry. And I feel like this industry does change on a daily basis,
Yeah.
so quickly. And I do think that, the biggest integration of changes that we're seeing right now, and I'm sure in your lifetime, the biggest introduction that you saw was the internet, right? And I think that that was a
Yeah.
profound change in the way that you did a lot of the work. And I think we're seeing something very similar now when it comes to AI. And so knowing where you are with your business and you have these three huge offices, what is working really well for you in terms of systems or structure where you're utilizing technology, and what's not working so well?
Well, we made a big transition in our company about a year and a half ago, and we switched our whole software CRM program that we use from Reliance to Bold Trail. It was KV Core, and now it's Bold Trail.
Okay.
So there again, that was a big change for a lot of my agents, because all of a sudden you're pulling the rug out from underneath them and saying, "Oh, here's a new, better product," and
Mhm.
we want you to put all your contacts into this, and we want you to turn on these systems, because Bold Trail has AI built into it, and we saw that coming. And so, whether it be the chat bots in Bold Trail or whatever, We made that transition over a year ago to move our company into that system because we saw it as a superior system that had the intuitive process to be able to tell when people were getting warmer and when they wanted to get closer to buying or selling, that kind of thing. Using your systems and, right now we're all still learning. I mean, it's like every day, one of the programs that I have used now has an AI factor in it. And
Mm,
so every single day, it seems like I come in, there's a new AI bot out there. I don't care whether it's on Google or, everybody thinks AI, they just think ChatGPT, but AI is involved in everything right now. It has to do with your online banking, your credit cards, everything else has AI in it. And so we have to learn and we have to adapt. And I think I told you this when I originally talked to you a couple of weeks ago. I'm not going to claim to be an AI expert. What I am going to say is I am going to learn as much as I can about how to utilize AI. And some of the bigger changes right now that I'm seeing, and something I'm working very hard on right now. Most of our people probably are aware that ChatGPT now has Zillow built into it, and
yeah.
they have merged their system in there. Well, that has totally changed how we put descriptions in on our properties today. Just that one item right there, because we've been used to, we're salespeople. So we use a lot of verbs and we use some very superlative verbs at times to describe properties. Some people get really carried away on properties they shouldn't be superlative on. But now, when people go in on AI, they're doing their searches different than they did when they went to Zillow or when they went to homes.com or when they went to my website. We have categories in there and we put price ranges and we put bedrooms and we put all the different features out there. Well, they don't necessarily search that way. We're used to doing it because our software has trained us to search that way.
Mhm.
If we're doing an MLS search, we only have so many categories out here that we can load data in and search by. And although our systems are very robust today and we can use a lot of features, people don't search like that.
Mm,
Okay. And I'll use an exact example. I just listed a condo in our River Market district here in Kansas City. It's right just north of downtown Kansas City. And the condo building I listed is right on the streetcar line. It is walking distance to the new women's soccer stadium that we have here in Kansas City, which is one of a kind. No other women's sports team has their own facility like this. It's really close to our Power and Light district. So people can get on that streetcar and they can go to Power and Light. They can go to the Plaza Shopping District. Or in the new extension is going to go directly to the soccer stadium for women. And so people, let's say I'm looking for a condo in downtown Kansas City, and I search that I want to be near a streetcar route or whatever. I want to be walking distance to the soccer stadium, or I want to be within 10 blocks of Power and Light. You have to put a lot of nouns in your descriptions now instead of verbs because people go out there and say, here's what I'm looking for. Can you find it for me? And
right.
so if you have those nouns that describe those things within your description that goes into MLS that gets fed out to Zillow, then your listings will come up. And this particular condo that I'm talking about, I did the original description and I used AI doing that because I had told AI exactly the type of verbiage I wanted, that kind of thing. Well, after I reworked it with the nouns put in place that I wanted to put in, I did a search on ChatGPT, and my listing came up number one.
I love that.
Okay. And so the part of AI that I'm struggling with right now and trying to learn more about, in fact, I'm going to a meeting next week on it. One of my friends is coming in from Canada to deal with it here, and I'm going to meet with him. Is how we improve our processes. In other words, our transaction management. I don't have a grasp yet on the best systems to put in place on AI to do some of the transaction management for my team, and to be able to teach my agents how to do it.
Yeah.
So those are things I'm still struggling with. The thing I do know that if you want to be in this business long term and you want to have a successful career, is
Hmm.
you have to keep learning these systems, and you have to do it in bite-sized pieces. Nobody can just swallow it all at once.
Right.
You have to gradually learn one thing at a time and then build off of that. And that's what I try to get my agents to do, is take baby steps toward the goal. I mean, and I'm very goal oriented. I mean, one thing, if you have any of the newer agents on this podcast, there's nothing better than having good written goals.
Mm.
And in fact, I'll grab something here. I didn't think about this earlier, but I'm impromptu. So
That's so
when I go speak at conventions and things like that, I am a person who talks about goals all the time. And I have a goal card that I actually hand out at the meetings. And what it says on it is, it's only a dream until you write it down, share it, and then it's a goal. Okay. And then I write my goals for the year on the back of that. And
love
then
that.
every time I close a transaction, I stroke tally down at the bottom so I can keep track of my transactions for the year. But if I look back over, let's say, the last 15 years I've been using this system, I have to look at this gold card every morning when I put it in my pocket, and I have to look at it every night when I take it out of my pocket. And so those goals stay in my mind fresh. And it's just not about sales, it's about life.
Mhm.
I mean, I have goals on here that have to do with my children. I have goals on here that have to do with, me and my wife. I have things on here for grandkids. I have things, last year I made several major renovations to my house. And, I had on my gold card,
Sure.
put all new windows in the house, put a new
Yeah,
deck on the house,
that's great.
all those
That's
kind of
fantastic.
things.
Yeah,
And so it's about looking at your goals and making strides forward toward achieving them. And
100%.
that has to do with AI. It has to do with anything that we're doing in this business.
About that. So Dan, you brought up a couple things, integrating AI to help with property descriptions, but then also looking for ways that AI can resolve some really repetitive or mindless tasks like the transaction management and coordination. Um, Tell me a little bit more about some other tasks that are repetitive or mindless that your current agents might really enjoy having AI to resolve.
Well, it could be things like, um, I don't care whether it's anniversary reminders on their
Mhm.
purchases.
Mhm.
It can, birthdays, even keeping your workflow. I mean, having reminders out there that hit you that say, okay, you need to accomplish this today. I don't, and some people, they just do a calendar and time block, that kind of thing. But making your calls, I mean, with all the AI, everything else, the one thing I will say, all the changes in my entire career, none of them take the place of prospecting and getting on the phone.
Mhm.
Okay. And that is, a lot of my younger agents are almost allergic to get on the phone for anything but texting. and I constantly try to force myself to make at least 10 contacts a day, and I still do it to this day. Back in the old days, I put 10 business cards in my pocket every day, and I didn't go home until I'd given all 10 of those business cards out. Today, it's more because you don't have as much one-on-one face-to-face contact. It's important that you prioritize what your goals are on what you're going to achieve. If it's making 10 calls a day for 5 days a week, if it's going on, 5 listing presentations a week, whatever it is, calendar it. And I think you can use AI to help you accomplish those tasks.
I agree. Yeah, I think there's a lot of new things coming out that really helps facilitate the automation of some of those reminders. The happy birthdays, or the hey, I'm just checking in, how are you? Or even just like, do you have a referral for me? After you have a good relationship with someone. And then I think, yeah, to your point, just the constant communication with potential people within our sphere. A lot of that can be automated, but there is nothing that beats, that phone call. And so how can we make AI automation personalized, and how can we make it authentic, right? And I think that's something where a lot of agents today, they're busy and they just don't have the time to make the phone calls and to run around, because I think with the adoption of technology into a lot of what we do, hopefully, we're performing quite higher and we're doing a lot more transaction volume, which is making us kind of run around and forget that prospecting is a huge goal. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that is something that we talk about a lot on this podcast, which is staying in contact with the sphere, and that, technology is never going to replace the person-to-person connections that we have. And it's very important for agents to stay on top of their sphere, continue fostering relationships, and understanding that we are in a people business. And this is a community-focused type of business that we have. However, what are some things that we could take off our plate so we can focus in on those areas and really keep those relationships growing? So I love that. Dan, for the sake of time, I just have quick, rapid fire questions I ask everyone at the end of the podcast.
Let me
Go
let me
ahead.
insert here. I have one more thing that I want to talk
Sure.
about AI on, and this is something I've been concentrating on too, is you have to train AI, okay? All AI does is go out and look for information and regurgitate it,
Right.
okay? So, like I started playing with some searches and said, who are the top agents in my county, okay? And I saw who it pulled up. I'm going, well, good Lord, I've done 3 or 4 times as many transactions as that agent. Well, if I don't tell AI about my results, it can't find me. So what
Mm,
I've been working on is, for instance, if you do a search in my county for the most experienced agent, you're going to find my name pops up on AI.
right.
And the thing I'm trying to do is, because a lot of agents were transaction counters and that kind of thing. And I never, in any of my publications, I'd never said how many transactions I had closed in my career. Well, now I'm trying to train AI with that, and I'm putting that information out in strategic places so that AI finds that information. So if you want to be found, and let's say I want to be the specialist in my neighborhood, okay? And my neighborhood is Tremont Manor, okay? I have to go out and tell AI that I am the best agent in Tremont Manor, or it doesn't know that.
I love
Does
that.
that make sense? And so I
Mhm.
just wanted to throw that in because we just can't sit back. We have to take an aggressive role in training AI to regurgitate what we want the public to see.
I think that's such a great input, because a lot of the people, you can train AI to repeat back or deliver for you what you want in terms of processes, systems, etc. But you're right, you're also training AI to deliver that news to the remainder of everyone else who's out there.
Yeah.
So that's such a great point to make. And I'm glad you mentioned that. Um, Dan, if you could wave a magic wand and change anything in your business, whether it be with technology or not with technology, what do you think that would be?
That's a good question. You should have prepped me for that one. Um, I don't know. if I have magic wand, I would just relax more through the years, and I would have taken probably more time off. I'm kind of a workaholic, and actually, goals on my card this year have to do with vacations, because I do think when we take time away, it helps us refocus. Because, for instance, I just went on a trip to California recently, and I had two or three really strong brainstorms. One of these things that I was just talking about with AI, training AI, I started thinking about things, and while I was on the road, whenever I wasn't driving, I was on ChatGPT doing some searches, going like, okay, let me pretend like I'm a buyer. So taking time away, and then availing yourself to learning. One of the things I think since COVID, we're really guilty of in this business is not going to events. Okay, we're sitting in our houses, we're looking at Zoom, we're watching, we can watch continuing ed on, our computers now, all that kind of thing. Going to events, meeting people, hearing things, and then let's say the speaker that I'm going to meet with next week about AI. He and I served on a committee with Remax 20 years ago as innovators in the Remax system. So now he's really big into AI. So I'm meeting with him to do that. So taking advantage of learning opportunities, and especially the ones in person, would be the more you do it, the better you get.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, Dan, this has been such a great conversation. I love how hearing, someone who's been in the industry for 5 decades, continues to innovate and stay curious and integrate new technology and AI when they see the opportunity. So for anyone who's listening and wants to connect with you or learn more about you, where can they find you?
Everywhere. uh, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd have a TikTok account until a year and a half ago, and my grandson that was interning with me. We're working on our fourth generation of a realtor here. My
Love
dad
that.
was a realtor. My
Yep.
wife worked with me for years. My daughter works with me. But my grandson got me into TikTok. Now we have a TikTok page, but danvick.com. You can go to my website and reach out to me, but any of the social media platforms, whether it be Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube, whatever, you can go out and see what we do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to the Aiscend AI podcast, where real estate meets innovation. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. And until next time, keep growing, keep connecting, and keep building smarter. Okay, I'm going to stop recording here.